This is a parcel from Shae. I know it is because it had her name on the front. It had an outer box which I have now taken off, and I've slit this open here, all ready to open up. Let's see what we've got. Exciting. Oh, look at that. Wow, that is fascinating. I like that. That's a very wintry looking sky, isn't it? Sort of an evening wintry sky. I may have to obscure some of that and do something at the bottom. Or I might do something in the sky. Or, I wonder what it looks like upside down. No, I don't think so. You know, that looks awfully like the head of something. Or maybe that's another head of something. There's two big somethings. And a couple more somethings going that way. I don't know. I love the colours. I mean, not wild about this sort of pale pink, but that's just me. I mean, this is lovely, isn't it? Nice and deep. Lovely. Sort of sunset, sunrise. Could be. I wonder what I'll do with it. I haven't got a clue. But I shall find out. Let's bring it up so you can see it a bit better. There you go. Isn't that nice? I think that's lovely. Off we go. Bye bye. See you later. This is Shae's background, and I've been having a little play with some an idea for this, and I've been doing some sort of buildings. The idea, you know, sort of skyscrapery things on a floating sort of Laputa-like city, you know, sort of got all these other buildings around. So on and so forth. And I also had the idea, I saw this surrealist painting, very, very detailed, nothing I could possibly attempt like that. But he had something with ships in the sky, and I like that idea. But I also like the idea of taking it another stage, another step further, and upside down ships. If you're going to go surreal, you may as well go all the way. And I don't see why ships shouldn't be upside down. I do like that Chinese junk in The Fifth Element, the way that sort of chugged around in the air. I love that idea. I don't know whether that will come in or not, but I may need to go back over some of this, because some of these things are behind the cloud, and some are in front of some clouds and behind others. It's behind this one. And there may be more distant cities. Oh no, that's behind that cloud, so that would not be there. That would be behind it. Anyway, that's just a thought, just an idea. With the sort of tangly roots re Laputa. Now remember, it was sort of built from a tree. Yes, possibly. So I'll need some more little things. I'll have to research what a Chinese junk looks like if I'm going to put a Chinese junk in, and I'm not sure whether I'll put that upside down or right side up. And I may have to add some more to these clouds to ensure that building the city is behind one cloud and in front of another and all that kind of thing. But there we are, that's my idea for that. I did have another idea for it with lots of dragons, sort of a group of dragons fighting in the sky. But I've just done a dragon for Tanya, and I wanted to do something different. So, and this was an idea that seems to fit very well with the clouds and the sky, since this is clouds and sky. So, we'll see. Okie doke. get back to you when I've done a bit more. Right, now I've done some of the painting here, just sketching it out vaguely. There's a lot more to do to detail it in, and I'm now drawing a large dome for a much closer city, and that's the beginning of a minaret. There we go, doing the tower, and then waffling about it, doing the little windows. These are the kind of open windows with no glass in, where the head honcho calls out the call to prayer. We used to live in Oman and they used to do that all the time. So there we go. That's what those windows are for. And they have little crescent moons on the top of the domes, and on the top of the domes on the minarets as well. So I'll put those in. I like it because it felt exotic. I mean, I could just as easily have put the spires of English churches. In fact, that'd probably have been a better idea, but there we go. I didn't think of it at the time. So I'm doing this because it feels exotic. And so does a Chinese junk, which is what I'm painting there. Those are the swags of cloth on the sails, and I did the brush strokes from side to side like that so that it would give the feel of the wind in the sails. And I think it does. I think it works quite well. Touching up various bits and bobs. There's a lot of this goes on. It can get a bit repetitive, but personally I find the actual doing of it to be very therapeutic and relaxing. But I don't find it quite so relaxing to watch somebody doing it, so that's why I've speeded everything up. So you can still see what I'm doing, painting in the mast there, but it doesn't take forever to do, or to watch. So we're mixing up some colours. That's pale lemon. I like the pale lemon. It's like a ready mixed paleness of yellow, which is exactly what it is. So I'm using that and some combinations of other colours, like burnt umber and yellow. Now what's that one? I've got them all over here. Let me have a look and see what colours I've got. So it might be cad yellow, pale hue, or there's some yellow ochre over there. Probably added a bit of that as well. So those are the colours I've used. I've used either transparent yellow, yellow ochre, cadmium yellow, pale hue, and of course the pale lemon that you saw me show you, and cadmium yellow deep hue. Any one of those are the yellows I've got, and I've probably used a combination of them. I'm probably a bit of burnt sienna as well, because that's a nice sort of browny yellowy colour for shading, which I think that's the blob that's next to the mixed pale yellow that I'm dipping into at the moment. The blob next to it I think is the burnt sienna. Raw sienna, beg your pardon, raw sienna. So we're using this pale mixed colour with a little bit of the brown and mostly pale yellow to give a ground, a basic background colour for the building. Later you'll see me doing lots more shading. Any second, possibly. I do cut it now and then because, you know, I mean, you've shaded something, so what's to look at? I'm talking about the clouds and how I've drawn on it, and I'm just cutting out those bits. There we are, painting in the shape of the building, the minaret, and its little dome. I do like those shapes, they're quite a pleasing sort of shape. And that lovely little twisted sail on the junk. And continuing with the shading in of the other buildings on the further city, and probably on the very much further city. It's all just, you know, sort of keep going until you're happy with your result. If you've got a reference image to work from, all the better. And if you haven't, doesn't really matter. It helps. Some people prefer to work from a reference image. Some people prefer to look at a reference image and then not bother with it anymore because they want to do their own thing, or they're just so good, their memory is so good that they can just do stuff from their own mind anyway. I'm not like that. So I have used a reference image. Well, I've used lots. But then I've gone ahead and done exactly what I wanted anyway. So it's really just to get the form and shape of the minaret. You can see that first minaret I've done is not quite the same shape as the one I did from a reference image, which is the larger, closer dome. I think that's a better shape, that one. So, but it doesn't matter. I mean, these things come in all sorts of different shapes and sizes. You look at different countries and you've got a different shape. You look at St. Paul's, it's a different shaped dome to, say, the mosque at Sultan Qaboos in the Sultanate of Oman. Sultan Qaboos's mosque. And you look at the different ships. I mean, you've got British type sailing ships, well, universal, and then Chinese junks, quite different shapes, which is why I used a Chinese junk and an ordinary sailing ship. I should have gone for something else as well, really, but there we are. I mean, you want a couple the same and some bit different. Gives you a little bit of variety and a little bit of, well, not so variety. Not so varietous, that's not even a word either. Never mind. So there we are, touching up. Adding the light. I mean, I've gone with the light coming from the left. So that's what these buildings will be showing. They'll be showing that. And I'm doing it darker on the darker side with the darker colours like raw umber, burnt umber, and raw sienna, and various shades of yellow. I can't remember whether I used raw umber or burnt umber. Let's have a look and see. There we go. Here's my... It's raw umber. That's raw umber. I don't think I've actually got burnt umber. I ought to get some. There we are, touching up the darkness and blending it in, because blending it in gives you the roundness of your piece of masonry. And it's not so easy on a dome when you've got a large dome in front of you like that, because it's not a normal shape that I've seen very often. So that's why I felt I needed a reference image to get the shadow and light on it. I think I've done a fairly good job. It does look like a dome to me when it's finished, so... This is very laborious, but I just keep going with these things until I find that it looks right. And after a while you go away and you... personally, I went away. I got tired and went away and did other things, you know, had tea, whatever. Went out, came back, went to sleep. And then when you look at it the next day, you go, that's not right. Because taking a pause gives you that perspective on what you've done to see whether it's right or not, or whether you think you ought to add something else. I do think you need to allow that when you're doing these sort of paintings. If you're doing an art exchange, try and make sure you leave enough room for you to have a pause and then come back and go, I like that, or I don't like that, it needs something else. So there we are, doing this building. I'm doing it upside down because I'm right-handed and I find it easier to get a nice straight edge doing it like that. If you can do it like that, that's fine. If you can do it without doing that, that's even better. But that's entirely up to you. Some people are ambidextrous and just swap the paintbrush over to the other hand. I've never been able to do that. I feel that's a lack in me, but there we go. I painted those little domes with gold paint. As you can see, when the light goes on the picture, they light up a bit because I used gold paint on those. But on these closer domes rather, I did those just with the colour of the stone. I liked that. I like the colour of the stone. Doing the flag, just adding a little touch more colour, trying to make it stand out from the background a little more, from the sky, and giving it a bit of movement. That further one, the one that you can barely see but for the mast, that's quite well disguised against the sky, but I felt that was okay because that gives it some distance. I think that's fine. I'm not bothered about that. Well, that's my almost finished shot, and then I'm looking at it and going, there's something not quite right. So you'll see me adjust that in a moment, and then do 3 more adjustments, or 1 more adjustment. There, I painted the birds. Yes, give it, you know, this is the sky. That's because there are birds in it. Oh well. So next we go on to the next bit, which is coming up now. So I decided that this wasn't quite dark enough, wasn't quite the right shape, it was a bit squished on the right hand side. So I'm going over it again and trying to adjust the shape. That's a bit better, but I'll adjust it a bit more later. See, it's not quite as bulbous as the other side, the side in the light, and that's not quite right. I will notice that eventually. Yes, darkening it a bit more, and then when I've done that, I'll go back to the big dome and go, we do it a bit more over there. See, when you get one piece looking right, you realise that it's not quite right on the other piece. So you go back and add another darkening edge. And then you've got to do the other windows on the other side of the building. You would see them through, so there you go. That's what that was. And then, finally, here's me wittering. But then, there we are, we're adjusting it properly. Hooray! Got the actual correct belling of the shape. Brilliant. Yeah, don't do any more. It's the hardest lesson to learn, stopping. Especially when you're not a brilliant painter. You know it's not quite right, and you want to keep trying to make it right. Yeah, well, there you go. Let's stop. That's everything. Don't forget to like, thumbs up, and subscribe if you want to see more stuff. And that's all, folks. Have fun painting and crafting. Bye.